Did you know that two guys 150 years ago that you have never heard of wrote two books that you have never heard of that have fooled the entire Western world for a century and a half and is still fooling them now? It's the most successful conspiracy theory of all time. So the conflict narrative, or the conflict thesis as it's sometimes called, is the idea that throughout history, science and religion have been at war with one another. So we have all these stories that float around, including, of course, the famous one about Galileo. And the idea of all of these stories, you add them up and you say, wow, look, it really is true that you either think about the world scientifically or you think about it using religion. The two are at war and you have to pick a side. In the history of science discipline, it has been thrown out. The conflict thesis has been thrown out. And where did Draper and White come in? Well, John William Draper was a chemist, and he wrote a book called The Conflict Between Science and Religion. And he told all these stories and said, mankind is going to have to make a choice. And then he was closely followed by a chap called Andrew Dickson White, who was a historian, a literary historian. And he wrote a book called The Warfare Between Science and Theology. And they were extremely famous, influential people. The ramifications of the conflict thesis are that everybody just thinks it's true. Now, why is this important? It's because we are missing out on so many potential scientists. In our classrooms, there will be students who would be excellent as career scientists, but because they've been told you've got to pick a side, God versus science, and they believe in God, they are wary of science. So one way that you can get people into the sciences who you feel are underrepresented is to stop peddling this myth. Because the only thing that's powerful enough to replace a story is another story.